She leaned against the doorway with her overnight bag already zipped. I'm going to stay at Kelly's tonight. Girl talk. We'll probably be up late. 10 years married, and that was a first. An overnight to gossip. I was halfway through tightening a leaky valve under the kitchen sink, wrench in hand, water in a shallow bowl. I looked up, eyebrows up too. That new? I asked, not unkind. She shrugged. You want me to text you every hour? It's fine, Ethan. Don't be weird. I wasn't being weird. I dried my hands on a dish towel. Have fun. She kissed the air near my cheek and left. The door clicked. I listened a second too long, like the house might tell me something. It didn't. I went back to the valve and told myself not to read into it. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have grabbed more than a wrench. When she got back the next morning, she moved around the kitchen like a breeze. Eyes bright, hair done, too done for sleeping on a friend's couch. How's Kelly? I asked, cracking eggs into a pan. She's fine, Laura said, scrolling her phone with her thumb turned away from me. We talked forever. I'm exhausted. Seems like you got a blowout at 3 a.m. She laughed, quick and flat. You're observant today. I live here. I slid an omelet onto her plate. She took a fork, poked it, didn't eat. I'm not hungry, she said, and drifted off down the hall. Nothing to chase. Nothing to fight. Just a note you tuck away so you recognize the next one. The next one was 2 days later. Late. Then later. Then the same overnight story, but with a new name, Maddie this time. Then the phone turned face down, notifications off. She used to leave it everywhere. Now it had a shadow. I'm a contractor. I keep lists, supplies, deadlines, people who pay on time and people who don't. I started a new list I didn't name. Sleepover, first time in 10 years. New hair, new perfume. Phone face down. Late nights. Each line separated by a sandwich bag of silence. I wasn't fishing. I was counting. One night during dishes, I said, "We still on for Saturday?" Dave and Leanne invited us for the game. She didn't look up from her phone. Maybe. I might have brunch with the girls. The girls is a big category. Saturday's been on the calendar 3 weeks. Ethan, relax. It's not that serious. It's on our calendar, I repeated. That's as serious as I get. She smiled at the screen. I'll let you know. I took the sponge, turned off the tap, and made a different plan. Rule 1. If my time isn't respected, I reassign it. I called Dave that night. Change of plans, I told him. I'll swing by solo. You still good with that? Always, he said. Leanne will set another place. Everything okay? Not sure yet. Put me on the deck, not the couch. I want to be in the breeze. Copy. Saturday came, and I showed up to Dave's with ribs and my own folding chair. Dave slapped my shoulder at the door. Look at you, he said. Self-sufficient. Leanne peered over his shoulder. Where's Laura? Brunch, I said, setting down the ribs. Different sport. Leanne's mouth made a little circle, then a polite smile. Well, you're here, she said, and squeezed my arm. The guys drifted toward the TV. I set my chair near the deck door and texted Laura, I'm at Dave's. Seats saved if you make it. She replied 2 hours later. Busy. Have fun. A minute later, a photo landed. Champagne flutes, a plate of something with berries, and 3 hands visible. None of them hers. The caption said brunch. The timestamp said 5:12 p.m. At halftime, Leanne leaned on the back of my chair. Everything okay? She asked again, quieter. I'm collecting data, I said. Not panicking. That sounds like you. It's working so far. When I got home, Laura was on the couch laughing at some show, socks off, blanket over her lap. She glanced at me, then at the TV. How was it? Good ribs, I told her, heading to the kitchen. Leanne says hi. She always does. Laura lifted her phone and checked something, then set it face down again. You know that. Growing up, brunch was something we did on Sundays after church, I said, running the sink. Not something that runs past 5. But I'm learning new definitions every day. Cute, she said. Do you want a medal for that joke? I want honesty, I said, and dried my hands. If you want to be out, be out. Just don't sell it like you're in. I don't have to check in with you every minute, she replied. You don't, I agreed. And I don't have to keep seats at other people's houses either. She rolled her eyes. Here we go. No, I answered calm. Here I go. I slept fine that night. She picked up her phone at 2:11 a.m. in the dark, and the screen made a blue square on the wall. She stood and went to the bathroom. The door didn't close. A whisper. A laugh. Water running for cover. Enough. I updated the list on my nightstand. 2:11 a.m. secret call. Then I slid it in the drawer. Rule 2. Separate budget, separate calendar, separate space. Grown-up moves, no noise. We usually combined everything in one joint account, paid the mortgage, food, her yoga classes, my shop supplies. Monday morning, I opened a new personal account at the credit union near my job site. I redirected my business deposits there. I adjusted auto-pays so the mortgage still cleared from the joint. I left plenty so she didn't smell smoke. If she was building a second life, I could at least stop financing it beyond the walls of the house I worked to keep upright. That evening, when she came into the kitchen, she poked the mail stack and asked, "Any packages for me?" "Just flyers." She lifted one up. "Spa opening. Maybe I'll try it." "Your call." I put away a pan and walked past her. The less I explained, the more space I had. She watched me like I was moving furniture inside my head. "You're quiet lately," she said. "Just not repeating myself." I answered, and that was the end of it. 3 days later, we were at a backyard birthday for our neighbor's kid, a bouncy house, a Costco cake, lemonade. The usual suburban peace treaty. Laura floated in and out of clusters of parents, laughing big, hand on someone's shoulder, then someone else's. I grilled hot dogs with Dave and watched her without really watching. She stepped over to where the dad stood and jabbed a joke in my direction. "Ethan's about as spontaneous as a tax form," she said, sipping lemonade. People laughed in that polite way when they're not sure if it's okay. I didn't meet her joke with a smile. I set a spatula down and turned slightly. "2 things," I said, voice steady for the group as much as for her. 1. I don't take shots in public, even cute ones. 2. I'm not your comedy set. Her smile twitched. "Relax, it's a joke." Then write new material. I looked at Dave. "You need another bag of ice?" "I'll grab it." Dave lifted his hands. "We're good. Then I'll head out." I wiped my hands, handed the spatula back, and to Laura, I added, "I'm leaving the party. You're a big girl. You don't need a ride. See you at home." I didn't make a scene. I made a choice. People watched me go like I'd left mid-anthem. That was fine. I wanted the line drawn where everyone could see it, including me. At home, I pulled our wall calendar down. We had stickers on it like parents of toddlers, dentist appointments, her book club, my bids due. I erased our couple's dinner next week with new clients I'd been dragging her to. I texted the couple, "Change of plan. I'll meet you at the job site instead. Keep it professional." They liked that. Laura came in later, sour. "Why did Dave text me? Everything cool?" "Ask him," I said, filling a glass of water. "You embarrassed me." I declined being a prop. There's a difference. Don't be dramatic. "Me?" I left quietly. "You performed." She swiped a dish towel off the counter, then tossed it back. "You're overreacting." "No," I said. "I'm calibrating." That was when she tried her first pivot. The next morning, a box of my favorite donuts appeared on the counter. The coffee machine was already warm. She came up behind me with a soft, "Hey." That landed like a tourniquet. "I thought we could have breakfast together," she said. "I was out of line yesterday." I looked at the donuts. "Wow. Glazed diplomacy." She smirked. "It's called trying." "Trying what?" I wiped the counter. "Fixing the window dressing or the window?" She stepped closer. "I miss us, Ethan." "You miss being comfortable," I corrected, not unkind. I poured coffee into a travel mug. "We'll eat when we're speaking the same language." "You're being cold." "I'm being clear." I left without a kiss. At work, my foreman, Carl, watched me measure a set of cabinets twice when I usually measured once. "You're off," he said. "You never measure twice." "Don't turn that into a slogan," I replied. He grunted. "I'm not a slogan guy." I took lunch alone in the truck and made another list. Public joke boundary. Next, test. Because once you say no to one thing, you get more of them to test if the no is real. It's the physics of people. That weekend, the girls needed her again, apparently. She left in a hurry, perfume thick enough to count as a passenger. I let her go. Then I did what I don't like doing. I followed. Not down every alley. Not breathing into a paper bag. Just close enough to put facts where my gut had been humming. She drove downtown, parked 2 blocks from a wine bar, and walked the rest. I parked around the corner and stayed in the truck until she went in. A man met her at the door. Hug. Not a friend hug. A put both hands around her back and hold hug. They took a high top by the window, sat too close for strangers, talked like the room faded. I watched for 10 minutes exactly. I watched enough to know what I was looking at. Then I stepped out, used my phone, took 2 photos through the glass because life is easier when you don't have to explain. I didn't confront them. I wasn't on a TV show. I got back in my truck and drove away. On the way home, I passed the credit union and made one more stop. I moved our emergency savings to the personal account I'd opened, leaving the joint healthy enough to hide the surgery, mortgage, utilities, groceries. The lights would stay on, but I wasn't funding Champagne Thursday for 2. Then I did the paperwork at my office to remove her access to my business line of credit. Nothing dramatic, nothing cruel, just limits. At home, I made dinner for 1. Steak, salad, water. I set her plate inside the oven so it wouldn't look like a production. When she came in at 11:30, she was light on her feet and light on content. "How was it?" I asked, loading the dishwasher. "Good," she said, shoes kicked off. We laughed so much. You know, girl stuff. I nodded at the oven. "There's food in there if you want it." She opened it, saw the plate, smiled down. "Thanks." "No problem." She took one bite standing there, then wrapped it in foil and stuck it in the fridge. "I'm not hungry." "Yeah," I said. I figured. She studied me for a second, then tipped her head. "You okay?" "I'm making adjustments," I said, and put the last glass in the rack. There's a phrase people like to use, "It'll blow over." But wind never fixes the porch. A man with a hammer does. I booked an appointment with a family lawyer 2 days later, quietly, like I was ordering mulch. I learned what I needed: how to file, how to protect the house and the shop, how to keep it from turning into a bonfire. I filed. I did it without announcements. I set up mail forwarding for 1 envelope to my office. I copied what needed copying. I slept on my side of the bed without making a speech about it. That week, she got warmer. It was not random. People don't just switch to summer in the middle of February. She asked if I wanted to try a new restaurant Saturday. "We have a game night at Dave's," she said. "We can swing by after." "You go," I answered. "I'm working late." She came up to me at the garage door while I was sharpening a chisel. "Ethan, come on. I'm trying here." "I see you trying," I said. "I'm working too. Different projects." She frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means my time is not on call anymore." She nodded slowly. "Calculating. Okay, what if we do Sunday brunch?" She smiled with that sideways angle I used to find cute. "No girls. Just you and me. Somewhere by the water." "Well," I deadpanned, "I love water. It's wet and everything." She laughed and hit my arm lightly. "You're impossible." "I'm consistent." Sunday morning, she made pancakes from scratch. That was new. She placed a plate in front of me, slid into the chair across from mine, and studied my face like she was reading the weather. "You look tired," she said. "Not tired," I replied. Resolved. "You're scaring me a little," she tried. "I'm past trying to scare you." She set her fork down. "Can we stop being like this? I miss you." "You miss winning," I said. "There's a difference." She leaned back, disappointed I hadn't swallowed her second soft landing any better than the first. That afternoon, she put on jeans and a sweater and announced she had to get groceries. It was 3 p.m. on a Sunday. Sure. I didn't follow. I straightened the garage, labeled bins, and thought about what a man keeps when he stops trying to hold something that's walking away. Tuesday night was the pivot point. She didn't go anywhere. She moved around the living room like she was looking for something she'd lost. She sat on the arm of the couch, then on the rug, then on the couch again. I was at the table going through estimates. The house was quiet except for the little buzz of the fridge and her restless feet. She stood behind my chair and wrapped her arms around my shoulders. No show, no audience, just her and me and the weight of what I knew. "Why won't you even look at me?" she asked. "What is this now?" I didn't turn. I took out my phone and tapped a thumbnail. I held it up. Her face met her face in the reflection. Her at that high top, shoulders angled toward a man I didn't know, their heads tipped together. The second photo had her hand on his arm, easy, familiar. "I don't look at you," I said, "because when I do, I see an empty space." She froze, then blinked, then let go of my shoulders like they were hot. "What is this?" she whispered. "Who? How?" "Laura," I said as plain as a grocery list. "That's not what you think," she blurted, voice climbing. "He's an old friend. It looks like a piece of truth without the paragraph you want me to read." I finished for her. Save it. You're twisting it, she insisted, a hand to her chest like she had to anchor herself. It was innocent. Just catching up. At a wine bar, I said. At night. With your phone face down in my house. With overnights at Kelly's and Maddie's, and your calendar floating over water. This is crazy, she said. You're making a story. I'm finishing one. I stood and took my phone back. She grabbed my wrist and started to cry. Ethan, please. Listen. Please. It's not what you think. I would never. Then stop, I said, my voice steady enough you could hang a picture on it. Stop talking to me like I'm slow. She clung. Don't walk away. I pulled my hand free and headed to the bedroom. She followed, trying to take the space back with noise. Let me explain, she begged at the door. You've had 10 days, I said without raising my voice. You spent them elsewhere. She stood there barefoot in the hallway while I closed the door. I lay down and closed my eyes. I didn't hate her. I hated the way I'd let my own rules slide. That was over. Morning came clean. She was in the kitchen early, makeup light, like a softer version of herself might sell better. Bacon. Eggs. The table set. She sat with her hands folded, the plate steaming in front of my chair like a signal. Good morning, she said. It is, I agreed, poured coffee, stayed standing. Can we talk? She asked. We can be efficient, I said. She flinched, but held her ground. I made breakfast. Sit down. Please. I shook my head. Don't expect to keep telling me stories. I'm not listening anymore. If he was a friend, you could have said it up front. Instead, you chose overtime with girls and late nights. Pack your things. Be out by tonight. Papers will be in the mail tomorrow. She covered her mouth and then dropped her hand, tears coming whether she approved or not. You're ending our marriage over a picture, she said, trying one last pivot to make it about my vision, not her actions. I'm ending it over patterns, I said. The picture just puts it on paper. Please, she whispered, pushing the plate toward me like it was a bribe. Just hear me out. I heard you. You said brunch. Your actions said something else. I took my keys from the bowl by the door. I'm going to work. Can we at least? No, I cut in. Boundary. Respected. I left. The door closed behind me, and the morning felt like air after a long dive. The day at the shop was calm. Denise in the office handed me an envelope that had arrived like we planned. You sure? She asked, watching my face. Yeah, I said. I'm not angry. I'm done. She nodded once. That's different. At lunch, I moved the last of what needed moving. I revised my beneficiaries. I changed the garage code. The house key she had still worked, but it wouldn't after tonight. Logic, not fireworks. When I came home, her suitcase sat by the door and a laundry basket of folded clothes beside it. She'd taken the framed photos from our bedroom and stacked them face down on the dining table like she couldn't stand to look at them even on paper. She stood in the living room with her arms crossed, chin high, the tears gone, that old steel back in her posture. This is crazy, she said. You're throwing away a decade because you want to be right. I'm protecting the rest of my life because I want to be respected, I replied. Be out by 8. You don't own me. Correct, I said. That's why you can go. She huffed a laugh. You'll be back. You'll realize you overreacted. If I overreacted, I said, you'd be explaining a book club at a wine bar with a stranger and I'd be nodding like a sap. That won't be today. She tried one more angle. I'll call your sister. She'll talk sense into you. My sister's busy, I said. And this isn't her house. You're unbelievable. I'm consistent, I repeated, and headed to the garage. At 7:58, I walked back into a quieter house. The suitcase and basket were gone. So was she. The plate from the morning sat in the sink untouched. I threw it out. We don't keep food that's gone bad. The papers arrived at her temporary place the next day. Denise confirmed delivery because I didn't want any. I didn't get it theater. Laura called twice. I didn't pick up. She texted a paragraph, then another. I read none. I already knew the script. I kept working. I moved into the guest room for a week while she sorted where she'd be. I canceled our streaming bundle and got the basic package. Not as petty punishment, as math. I wasn't paying for 2 remotes anymore. Dave came by with a case of sparkling water. He stood in my garage doorway, hands tucked in his hoodie. I heard, he said. You okay? I'm cleaner, I said. And I'm busy. What do you need? Nothing, I answered. Just for people to accept this isn't a stage show. It's a decision. You got it, he said. We're here if you want to sit on my deck and watch the street, do nothing. That sounds decent. A week later, I found a note in my mailbox from Laura. Just a line about needing to talk. The ink pressed hard enough to ghost onto the paper under it. I recycled it with the grocery ads. The process moved the way processes move when you've done your homework and you're not improvising your values. She tried once more with sweetness. A voice message where she sounded like the woman I met at a 4th of July barbecue years ago. Light. Teasing. A too easy reminder that memories can be edited. I didn't play it to the end. I deleted it and went back to building a custom bookcase for a client with a reading room. Something sturdy to hold weight. She showed up at Dave and Leanne's one night, knowing I was there helping fix a fence panel. It was the first time we'd landed on the same square since the door closed. Leanne opened the back gate and glanced at me like she was bracing. Laura stepped in, small smile, hands together like she was bringing tea to a table with no cups. "Can we talk?" she asked. I leaned on the fence post. "No," I said. In front of Dave. In front of Leanne. No volume. No performance. Just a boundary where my life now lived. She looked at them like they might help. Leanne shook her head, gentle but firm. "This is their thing," she said. Laura's smile broke a little. "You won't even give me 5 minutes?" she asked me. "I gave you 10 years," I answered. "We're square." She exhaled, shook her head, and walked away, the gate clicking behind her. Dave raised his eyebrows at me like, "You okay with that?" I nodded. The moment wasn't for drama. It was for confirmation. On foreign soil, the line still held. When the day came to sign the last page, I went alone. Office. Pen. Paper. No confetti. No sad playlist. Just my name where it needed to be. We split what needed splitting. I kept the house and my shop. She took what she brought, and a few things she argued were hers by habit. We weren't in a courtroom. We were in a building where people who have finished their sentences go to put periods. I stepped back into the sunlight feeling exactly like myself. After, I drove to the lumberyard and loaded Maple into my truck. At home, I planed boards until the edges fit like they were meant to be neighbors. The sound drowned out the noise in my head better than any speech could. People always want an epilogue. They want to know if the villain trips on the last step or finds a new castle. A month after the papers, I ran into a mutual friend at the hardware store. He looked at me like he was about to ask if I was okay, then thought better and said, "Heard from Laura?" "No," I said. "How is the weather over there?" He snorted. "Cloudy. That guy you photographed?" "He's a past tense. She was telling people it was complicated." He disagreed. "Imagine that," I said, picking up a box of screws. "Sorry, man. Don't be. It's simple now." At work, I took on a big remodel on the north side. It paid well and kept me out of my house enough that when I was home, I enjoyed silence like a companion. I started going to the gym again at 6 in the morning with my buddy Mike from high school, who talks at a volume only forklifts appreciate. He never asked for details. He just grunted rep counts and dropped heavy things. Perfect. The house got cleaner. The guest room became an office. I bought a used pickup with low miles and didn't tell anyone like it was a secret. I enjoyed a Saturday on my deck with coffee and a dog-eared novel my father left me. Denise from the office started bringing me extra sandwiches she overmade and left them on my desk with no note. A woman from a client's design team said, "You're easy to work with," and I took it at face value instead of twisting it into a puzzle. I still see Laura sometimes, across a grocery aisle or in a car 2 lanes over. She has a look like she's lost her keys, even when she's holding them. We don't wave. We don't play the innocent game. There's nothing to win. I don't hate her. I don't know her memory more than the facts. If you want the last line, I gave it already, in my kitchen, the morning after the photo. But I'll give you the other one, the opener that ended it as clean as I could make it. You can't keep telling stories to a man who lives by lists. Lists don't lie, even when people do. So here's mine, final version. Signal, an overnight to gossip for the first time in a decade. Response, I reallocated my time, then my money, then my space. Escalation, public jokes, late nights, silent phone. Boundary, public and private, dusted with powdered sugar, but not sweet. Proof, 2 photos I didn't want to take and didn't need more of. Decision, papers printed, signed, mailed. Consequence, she packed by 8. I slept well by 10. Update, I still own the house, the shop, the quiet mornings. She's somewhere else, figuring out brunch without a caption. I'm not bitter. I'm busy. That's the difference between men who chase and men who build. I'm done chasing. I've got a deck to stain, a truck to maintain, a ledger that balances.